Well, good morning, church. And I hope all is going well in your world this morning. And I hope that you've had a good week this week. And there looks like we're going to have a nice, pretty, beautiful day today. I think I seen where the weather says it's supposed to get almost up to next to 80 degrees today. So I hope you have a good, wonderful day today. And it's like as always, that if you're watching this video, it's like if you're watching at home, that's like as always, I say click the like button so that we know that you're watching. It's like feel free to share this video, with like all of your friends on Facebook, and it's like leave a comment. That's like let us know where you're watching from. We would love to see who all's watching. And it's like it'd be neat to see where you're watching from, and it's like who you're watching with this morning. That's like last week we started a new series that's called Chasing the Sun. That's like in this series we are going through the 7 signs or the 7 miracles of Jesus that are mentioned in the book of John. And it's like we've been talking about how these signs or these miracles can and will bring us to a belief in Jesus Christ. And it's like last week we talked about the first sign or the first miracle of when Jesus turned the water into wine. And it's like we talked about how at the end of the story the text said that through this it says that the people believed in Jesus because of what he had done. And that's like the main point last week. The main theme of our sermon last week was how Jesus can bring our disappointment, how he can turn that into celebration. We talked about how through Christ even our disasters can turn into victory. Well, like this week we're going to be talking about our second sign or our second miracle. But before I do that, it's like I want to start again this week by like asking a question. Most times I like to base my sermon or my message off of a question. And it's like our question this week is, have you ever been desperate? Have you ever been desperate? Have you ever done anything out of desperation? Let's say maybe you got laid off from your job and then you had to take the first job that came along, even though it paid less. You had to take that job out of desperation. Or maybe you had to borrow some money off of a friend or a family member just to get by for a couple weeks. Maybe you had to sell off some of your possessions to pay off a medical bill. Or say, have you ever screamed out in anger and say maybe even punch the air out of your desperation? They're like, I know that I've been there. I've been in places like that. I mean, face it, we're all human, and it's like we will all face these desperate times. We will all face desperation. Well, like this week we're going to be talking about a father that was desperate. We're going to read about a father that was facing desperation. And it's like this father had a son, and this man's son was dying. His son was on his deathbed, and this father did the only thing out of desperation. He did the only thing that he knew that he could do. This father acts out of his desperation. So to read this story, turn with me to the book of John, chapter 4, and we're going to be reading verses 46 through verses 54. John chapter 4, verses 46 through 54. So let's read about this father. Let's read about this desperate father. John chapter 4, verses 46 through verses 54. That's like it says, So Jesus came again to Cana of Galilee, where he had made the water into wine. And there was a certain nobleman whose son was sick at Capernaum. That's like when he had heard that Jesus had come out of Judah into Galilee, he went to him and implored him to come down and heal his son, for he was at the point of death. Then Jesus said to him, unless you people see signs and wonders, you will by no means believe. Then the nobleman said to him again, Sir, come down before my child dies. Jesus said to him, Go your way, your son lives. So the man believed the word that Jesus spoke to him, and he went his way. And as he was now going down, his servants met him and told him, saying, Your son lives. Then as he inquired of them the hour when he had gotten better, and they said to him, Yesterday at the 7th hour the fever left him. So the father knew that it was the same hour in which Jesus said to him, Your son lives. And he himself believed, and his whole household. This again is the second sign Jesus did when he had come out of Judah into Galilee. So it's kind of looking at this story, kind of get an overall view of this story. We have a sick boy that is beyond hope. This boy, this son, he is on his deathbed, and we see that his father was in a desperate situation. He didn't know what else to do. The only thing he could think to do was to go try to find Jesus. This father was willing to do whatever it took to have his son well again. So it's having this as the backdrop to our story. It's like considering this that I want us to think about our main theme for this morning. So with this story as a background, here is our main theme this morning. And if you have a pencil and a pad, that's like, write this down, jot this theme down. That's like our main idea. Our main theme this morning is, in the midst of our desperation, Jesus gives us hope. Let me repeat that. In the midst of our desperation, Jesus gives us hope. Now, like, looking back at our story, we see this father. We see that in this father's desperation, we see that he traveled from Judea to Capernaum on foot, I should add. He traveled on foot, which this would have been about a 16-mile journey. This man traveled on foot 16 miles just to try to find Jesus. But the distance that he traveled on foot does not compare to the distance that this father had to travel in his own heart. Because, see, this father had to travel from a place of pride and a place of authority. This was a nobleman. This was a Roman nobleman. This man had to travel from a place of pride and of authority to a place of humility. He had to humble himself to ask Jesus, who was a commoner from Nazareth. This Roman official had to humble himself to ask this Jewish carpenter for help. He asked him to heal his son. So that you can say that this father's desperation led him and it brought him to a place of humility. We also see that in this father's desperation, we see that this father begged Jesus to heal his son. This father just doesn't nonchalantly walk up to Jesus. He just doesn't passively, half-heartedly talk to Jesus. It says that he begged Jesus to heal his son. So now you can say that this father was willing to do whatever it took to have his son healed. This father was willing to beg. He was willing to get on his knees and to humble himself just to have Jesus heal his son. His desperation brought him to a place of willingness also. Also, we see that in this father's desperation, we see where the father heard Jesus' remark, and it's kind of a unique thing that like Jesus did here. But we see this father in his desperation. We see this father. He heard Jesus's comment, his remark of, that's like, unless you people see a sign or a wonder, you don't believe. And even after hearing this, this man does not let that sidetrack him from his main purpose, from his main focus. Now, it's important to remember that that Jesus said this not to only challenge or to question this father, but he did it to actually, it's to challenge the crowd that had gathered that day. Because see, remember that this was the same place where like Jesus had turned the water into wine, and the crowd had gathered simply just to see that if Jesus would do another wonderful sign, to see if he would do another miracle. These people were seeking something miraculous that day. These people were wanting to see a circus show happen. So then Jesus challenged them, saying, how come unless you don't see a sign or a wonder, you don't believe? But we see where this father persevered through this challenge. This father persevered, and he begged for a second time. He begged again, which proved that in this moment, this father wasn't only there to see another sign or a wonder, but this father was there. He came to Jesus not to see another sign or a wonder or a show that day, but he came because he knew that Jesus was the only one that could truly heal his son. This father persevered. This father's desperation brought him to a place of perseverance, which leads to one last attribute about this father's desperation. In this father's desperation, we also see where the father believed. We see where he believed. He believed Jesus. He believed that Jesus could not only heal his son, but he actually believed that Jesus did already heal his son. He believed that Jesus couldn't only heal him, but he believed that he did. And it's like we know this because of when Jesus said, go your way, your son is healed. We see where the man did. The man just left everything. The man believed, and he left that day, and the man went on his way. And it's like we also know that in verse 53, it also says that the man knew that Jesus had healed his son. So this man's desperation also brought him to a place of belief. Jesus said, go, your son is healed. And the man believed it was true. And it says that the man went on his merry way. The man believed that his son was healed. So then in this story, just to sort of give a quick overview, just a quick recap of the story, we see this Roman official, this desperate father, he came to and prayed to Jesus, and he come in humility. This father expressed a willingness to do whatever it took to have his son healed. This father persevered, even though he was challenged, even though he was questioned, he still persevered. It's like, lastly, we see where this father believed Jesus in his heart. He believed that Jesus could and would do the things that he said he would do. And it's like in the midst of this father's desperation, Jesus gave him hope. People, that's the overall theme of today, is even in our desperation, Jesus will give us hope. He gives us hope. We see that in this father's desperation, we saw where Jesus gave him hope. So the question is, where are you in all of this? Where are you right now in your life? Can you relate to this father? Are you desperate for something this morning? What are you desperate for is that's a will you allow your desperation, like this father, will you allow your desperation that there's to lead you to a place of humility, to lead you to a place of willingness, to lead you to a place of perseverance, and say, will you allow it to bring you to a place of belief that will ultimately lead to hope in Jesus. That's what I say. Whatever your situation is today, whatever your situation is, whether it be confusion about these times we're living in, we are living in crazy times right now. Maybe you're confused. Maybe you don't know which way to go. Maybe you don't know what tomorrow brings. That's like maybe you're desperate because you're in a place of sickness. Maybe you're suffering from the loss of a job, and it's like that's been caused a lot of financial struggles in your household. Or maybe you're even dealing with death itself. That's like, but will we allow these things? Will we allow our desperate times to drive us away from God? Or will we allow these desperate things to drive us to a point where we are willing to walk 16 miles on foot just to fall at the feet of Jesus and to beg for His mercy and to ask for His hope? Will we chase after the Son today? Will we chase after the Son? S-O-N, Son. Will we chase after the Son? That's like because once we reach the end of our rope in life, at the end of our rope is where hope in Jesus is found. That's like when we reach the end of our rope, that is where hope in Jesus begins. Once we reach the end of our strength, we reach the end of our knowingness, our knowledge. That is when Jesus can move in, and that's when He can bring us true hope. Well, that's like if you're home this morning and it's like you so longly need this hope, or if you don't know Jesus and if you want to know more about Him, and if you want to know more about the hope that He offers, please feel free just to reach out to me. You can leave me a message on this at the bottom of this video. Just click the comment, and you can leave a message, or you can send me a message through Facebook Messenger. You can call or text me. Most of you have my contact information, but if you don't, on the Afton Chapel Facebook page, there's a section where there's contact information. But feel free to reach out to me. You can send me an email, but don't waste time. Do it today. Find hope. Find hope through Jesus Christ. Find hope today. Simply because in the midst of our desperation, Jesus will bring us hope. He will bring you hope today if you chase after the Son, Jesus Christ. That's it, guys. I love you guys. And guys, I cannot wait to see you all again in person. Goodbye.